Sean Ray backstage with the Hall of Famer Kevin Levrone and the training guru George Farah at the IFBB North American Championships here in Cleveland. We're in the middle of the prejudging right now. They've got the Masters up on stage. A lot of athletes, over 500 athletes here today. It's inclusive this year of the women's and the men's physique as well, but we just got done watching the men's open prejudging before we get to the men's over 40. A lot of names here, Kevin, and my memory's a little bit foggy after seeing so many physiques, but there wasn't very many bantamweights. There were only 3 bantamweights. George Gibson, who's got the hip fused, a veteran of the stage, but he looked his best. He looked really good.
Yeah, I think he looked good. You know, I think they should be his, his spot right there.
One of the front runners. Going into the lightweights, we only had a few guys. A couple of guys from Mexico against a couple of guys from America. There's only 4 competitors. Do you think it's getting a little bit thinner in the lighter divisions? Are these bodybuilders sitting out for shows this big?
I think so, because I mean the light heavyweights is always a huge class.
Stacked.
It was really stacked, and Gary Udit always runs an awesome event here at the show, and actually this is my first time here, and so Sean, a show like this, it's so long that you never know really about as far as these competitors. They have so much time to prepare. Sometimes they over pump, and then they lose that pump. So it's kind of hard to gauge when you have these real long competitions like this with so many competitors.
Yeah, well, real quick, one guy that we know was very good. Some of these guys don't recognize. We're filming here. One of the guys that was one of the favorites coming in is Juan Morel. Juan Morel in that super heavyweight division stood out amongst men against boys.
Oh, yeah, of course. I mean, you got Juan Morel. He looks really, I think, he's not his best. Don't get me wrong, but I think
he's better
for
than
that,
last year. I saw him
yes, I mean, for moving up a class, he's definitely better than last year, because he was heavy. Now he's a super. He looks really good, and I think he's up and running. I mean,
one of the guys that's struggling is Keith Williams. Once again, he's up.
Keith have everything, man. I mean, just that poor guy, just that fine detail, I mean, Keith, I think, was a little sharper, before. If he would have brought that same thing here, he would have been his show.
Right, and Keith Williams a little bit thick on the skin.
George, what when you were sitting back and you're looking at these athletes and critiquing their physiques, what do you like, guys at their level, and like you said, they've been here over and over, what kind of advice would you give these guys?
I mean, really, it's all about dieting, you know what I'm saying? I mean, because these guys are veterans. I mean, it's not they're missing a lot. They all have decent physiques and stuff. So what's going to separate them is conditioning.
Speaking of conditioning, what about Drew Jimmett? He won the Masters, came here, and it looked like as he started to pose, he started to fade when he turned around to the rear.
I know, that's what I mean. I really had him in the run when he first came out, but then when he turned around, he didn't really have much happening.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like there's anybody standing out, jumping off. But you were saying earlier, George, when you notice a guy is on, is basically when he's in shape, and there's not a whole lot of guys that are bringing that crispness back in the days, like Kevin back at the Nationals.
Exactly. Like I said, there's not many. I mean, I have a couple guys structurally they're not the best. I have Daniel. He was in the welter.
Right.
He was in shape, but structurally he's not the best. I have the guy Tony Frederick. We were talking.
Very good.
I mean, he's the only one when he turned around in the heavy. He was diced, shredded, but the same thing. He doesn't have the structure. So these guys, they're gonna struggle a little bit.
Not to mention this is a 2-day event, so anything can happen between now and tomorrow, where we have the finals. We're still getting ready to bring on the girls in the bikini and the men and women's fitness, their figure. So it's going to be a long night here Friday night in Cleveland, Ohio. We'll come back tomorrow and wrap things up at the finals, where it's all going down for Team MD. Kevin Levrone, George Farah, I'm Sean Ray, MuscularDevelopment.com.